It all began in 2013. Daniel Reynolds was just a regular man, working a 9-to-5 job in a dull corporate office in downtown Manhattan. He was a tech enthusiast, always dabbling in the latest trends and looking for the next big thing in the world of technology. But he had no idea that in the near future, he would go from an ordinary man to a billionaire, and then, tragically, to a broken shell of a person betrayed by greed, lust, and trust. Daniel had always been a dreamer. In his early 20s, he had ventured into several online ventures, mostly small websites and projects that never really panned out. But his luck was about to change. In 2013, during a casual browsing session, Daniel stumbled across a small online forum discussing Bitcoin. The idea intrigued him. It was a decentralized digital currency that had no central authority and was free from government regulation. The more he read about Bitcoin, the more he realized that this could be the future. He didn't know much about cryptography, but he understood technology well enough to see the potential. At that time, Bitcoin was still a relatively unknown commodity. The price was volatile, fluctuating wildly, but that volatility caught Daniel's attention. He saw an opportunity to profit. After doing some research, he took a leap of faith and purchased his first batch of Bitcoin. He invested a sum he could afford to lose. But little did he know that this small risk would set him on a path of unimaginable success and catastrophic loss. Bitcoin's price was skyrocketing. By 2015, Daniel's initial investment had doubled, then tripled. The price of Bitcoin was on a steady rise, and Daniel began to take bigger risks. He invested more, watched as his portfolio grew, and started trading Bitcoin on different exchanges. He was making money hand over fist. Soon, Daniel found himself surrounded by other investors who had also entered the Bitcoin game early. They exchanged tips, strategies, and trading insights. Daniel's wealth continued to grow exponentially. By 2017, Bitcoin hit an all-time high, and Daniel's net worth was estimated at over $1 billion. He was living a life most could only dream of. Expensive cars, luxurious homes, private jets, and an endless string of parties. Daniel felt invincible. He was a visionary, a pioneer in the digital currency revolution. He believed that Bitcoin would change the world, and in a sense, it had already changed his. He was now among the richest people in the world, with a fortune larger than most could comprehend. But with great wealth came new dangers. Daniel, like many others, fell victim to the intoxicating power of money. His greed grew. He began taking larger risks, investing in altcoins and other speculative assets. He spread himself thin, and while Bitcoin remained a large portion of his wealth, he began to trust other cryptocurrencies that promised fast returns. It was during one of his trips to a luxury hotel in Paris in early 2018 that Daniel first met Sophie, a stunning woman with dark flowing hair, a sharp wit, and an undeniable charm. She was an entrepreneur and a cryptocurrency enthusiast, and she had been following Daniel's rise to wealth. Sophie was everything Daniel wanted in a woman: smart, beautiful, and just as obsessed with the digital currency revolution as he was. They hit it off immediately. Their conversations were always filled with talk about blockchain, cryptocurrency, and the future of money. Daniel was smitten. Sophie, on the other hand, was different from anyone he had met before. She didn't seem to care about his wealth or his status. She was genuinely interested in him as a person, and that made Daniel trust her. As the months passed, Daniel and Sophie became inseparable. She even introduced him to several prominent people in the cryptocurrency world, some of whom were rumored to have made enormous amounts of money. Sophie painted a picture of endless opportunity and growth in the crypto world, one where Bitcoin and its associated technologies would be at the center of the future. But as their relationship deepened, so did the complexity of Sophie's intentions. One fateful evening, as Daniel was lounging at his penthouse, he received a private message from Sophie. She told him she had found an exclusive opportunity that could double, even triple, his wealth. Sophie claimed that she had access to a new cryptocurrency investment platform, one that was backed by some of the biggest names in the industry. But in order to access it, Daniel had to make a small investment, something he could easily afford. The link she provided looked legitimate. It was from a well-known exchange platform, and the website appeared professional. There was no reason to question it. Sophie reassured him, telling him that this was the opportunity of a lifetime. She even promised him that they could share the rewards together. In his excitement and trust, Daniel clicked the link. As soon as he did, his screen flashed. The website turned into a login page for his cryptocurrency wallet, asking for his private keys to verify his account. Daniel hesitated for a moment. He had never been asked for such sensitive information before, but Sophie had never steered him wrong. He entered his private keys, the key to his billion-dollar fortune, without a second thought. The moment he hit enter, everything changed. His entire Bitcoin portfolio, along with other investments, began to vanish from his accounts. The transactions were so rapid that it was as though someone had access to all of his wallets and was draining them dry. Daniel's heart raced. He tried to log into his exchanges, but the accounts were locked. He called his exchange's support team, but it was too late. The damage had already been done. Everything he had worked for, everything he had built, was gone in a matter of hours. The website he had trusted turned out to be a fake, and Sophie, the woman he had fallen in love with, had orchestrated the entire thing. The following days were a blur of disbelief and anger. Daniel's world crumbled around him as he realized the full extent of his loss. His portfolio was drained. His wealth, built over years of hard work and careful investment, had evaporated. And Sophie? She disappeared. Her phone number was disconnected, and her social media accounts were wiped clean. It was as if she had never existed. Daniel's life, once filled with luxury and excitement, was now a dark, empty void. He couldn't understand how he had been so blind. He had trusted a woman who had used his weakness for affection and his greed for wealth against him. The trap was set, and Daniel walked right into it. He contacted authorities, but the transactions were too anonymous, too scattered across various wallets, to trace. The criminals behind the scam were untouchable. His own hubris, his overconfidence in his ability to make money, had blinded him to the simplest rule in the cryptocurrency world: never trust anyone with your private keys. Months passed, and Daniel withdrew from the public eye. His once glamorous life became a distant memory. His friends and family, who had envied his success, now watched from afar as Daniel struggled to regain control of his life. But the scars of his loss were deeper than anyone could see. He couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. The woman he had loved, the woman he had trusted, had been nothing more than a fraud, a ghost. But Daniel's story didn't end in complete ruin. He had learned the hard way, and while he couldn't erase the past, he could rebuild. Slowly, with a new understanding of the dangers of the digital world, he began to invest again. He wasn't a billionaire anymore, but he was starting over. This time, he was cautious. He knew that the world of cryptocurrency was filled with both promise and peril. Daniel's fall from grace was a harsh reminder to the world that while wealth could come easily, it could vanish just as quickly. Trust, especially in the unregulated, volatile world of digital currencies, was a dangerous thing. But for Daniel, the lessons he had learned would stay with him forever. And as he rebuilt his life, he vowed never again to let greed or lust cloud his judgment. Years later, Daniel stood in front of a new office, one he had built from the ground up with his own sweat and determination. He wasn't a billionaire anymore, but he was content. The lessons he had learned had made him wiser, more cautious. He had gained a new respect for the power of technology and the importance of trust. And although he had lost everything, he had gained something far more valuable: the knowledge that wealth, no matter how great, could never replace integrity. In the end, Daniel Reynolds had learned that the greatest fortune was not in money, but in the ability to rebuild, to rise again after every fall. And that, in itself, was worth more than all the Bitcoin in the world. Some people still talk about Daniel Reynolds, the once wealthy Bitcoin billionaire who lost everything. But the real story, the one that matters, is the one of his comeback. The true test of character is not in how high one can rise, but in how gracefully one can rise again after falling. And Daniel, despite all his losses, was proof that there was life after the fall. The Bitcoin trap had taken everything from him, but it had also given him the greatest gift of all: the chance to start over.